Good morning. It's June 19th, and today we're in Acts chapter 13. And I love this little section here, just the Paul and Barnabas being sent out on their missionary journey. And it says in verse 1 of chapter 13, now in the church at Antioch there were prophets and teachers, Barnabas, Simeon called Niger, Lucius of Cyrene, Manaen who had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch, and Saul. While they were worshiping the Lord and fasting, the Holy Spirit said, set apart for me Barnabas and Saul for the work to which I have called them. So after they had fasted and prayed, they placed their hands on them and sent them off. And I think there's a lot to take even just from these couple of verses. First of all, that Antioch has become now the launching point for missionary activity and certainly reaching more Gentiles now as they're heading up into Cyprus and then into Asia Minor. And what I think is interesting about that, well, first of all, there was just a huge earthquake in Antioch, Syrian Antioch recently, Antakya, that pretty much just completely destroyed the place. And it's amazing to think of the long history of Christianity in that place and how now it's dwindled to almost no Christians left in Syria and certainly not in Antioch, which is, again, almost completely destroyed. So this is a very historical place and causes us to think and pray for those people who live there now and for the many people who have gone before them in that area. But I also like the diversity of what is talked about here in that church, that there are prophets and teachers, but there's also people from all over the known world at that time, including people like Saul, who had been a persecutor of the church and now is going to be set apart as a leader of the church. Something else that I really like about this is as soon as Barnabas and Saul get sent out, the first place they go, according to the next paragraph, verse 4 and 5, they go to Cyprus, which is where Barnabas is from. And so I think it's really great that they go back to his hometown, his home region, and start there. It is a good pattern for us to think about, too, as being faithful to spread the gospel in the places where God has given us a knowledge of the language and the people and the culture. He's given us friends and the ability to start kind of in hometown, backyard, and that's what they do. So they go to Cyprus first. I think Barnabas was eager to share the gospel with those who were his countrymen. And then they're going to go to the place where Paul grew up, and they're going to start in that part of Asia Minor too. Again, in a place where the culture and language and customs are all familiar to them, and they're going to start basically from their own Jerusalem and move out to Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth from there, as a well, in a manner of speaking, at least. The gospel has already gone from Jerusalem to Judea into Samaria, and and now they're starting to expand that to the rest of the world. But they do it again from concentric circles, from what they know to what is less familiar to them. And I think that's a good pattern for us. This isn't, of course, prescriptive. We don't have to do it this way, but it is descriptive, and it helps us to know what they did and why they did it that way. And I think it's encouraging to hear from that. So that's it from this stuff from today.